He like stitched a monkey to a fish.
Oh my God.
That face you made is why we watch this stuff. It's just like, it gets you like,
People's brains and like feelings and all that. It's just really interesting. Like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are into murder stuff, especially women.
It gives you that like stomach churning thing of like, of getting away. So I wonder if there's like endorphins.
But the Bigfoot, it's just, I feel like something would be found, like somehow poop.
I just love that you're only into cold hard murder.
There's no
Not
whimsy.
the possibilities
No whimsy.
of UFOs.
No whimsy.
Extraterrestrial life.
No fantasy or whims.
Creatures from other dimensions.
Nope. No way.
Give me a body.
Yeah, that's me. Like it, and I like it. And I love I like the uncomfortableness and the grossness and the, weirdness of looking at a gross, dirty pond, or I don't know, like things that they're not necessarily bad, but they're just kind of like not the ideal, not the beautiful.
Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm your host, Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Liz Walsh. Liz, oh, sorry, you were going to say...
Thanks for having me, Javier.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I think after all of these, you're the first person that leaves with a thank you. It reminds me of like pundits that are like happy to have the job. They're like, first of all, please have me back.
It's time to spread the agenda.
Yeah. Cool. So I know you through like actually mostly, I guess last is probably the connection, but you just had a show, or I might be able to put this out in time. When is the show at Discount Mirrors down?
That's down on October 2nd. The last weekend is this weekend. So,
okay, so no, never mind.
Yeah, it's okay.
But
there'll be pictures online.
Yeah. But so you just did that. We were talking about how many like people from San Francisco, from the Bay Area, were in that show.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, let's see here. They're mostly, I mean, just by coming from there.
You don't have to list them. I've just meant
No, I know, but it's just the way I feel like my life has evolved down here has come through the city, through San Francisco or the Bay Area, just because that's where I came from, but then a lot of other folks did. And then we just happened to find each other. I mean, that's like Last Project. That's how I know them. It's from the Bay. And a lot of artists from the Bay, or some from here that have never been there.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Couple.
So, and then what was the basic, what's the name of the show?
Passage? Well, the show is called The Passage. And it was kind of the idea behind the show was just, well, it kind of had to do with the fall equinox and the idea of like things sort of changing and shifting. And the way I was feeling in my life at that moment when I was thinking about the show, I was like, like things shift, things change. And I'm sure other people feel this way. And then kind of like amping up those ideas and like, epiphany and metamorphosis and, making it a little crazier. And so the concepts behind the show was just kind of like a shift or transformation. And, I think most of the work was going that way. But yeah, I like the idea of changing. So.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then like you also are a painter, right?
Yes.
So you don't just curate. And did you have a piece of your own in the show?
I only had some decals that were up on the windows and on the mirror, and they were like spider webs, and I had a little skull. Yeah, I didn't want to put myself in there. I have in the past, obviously. When you curate something, it's hard not to like have your own work in there because it's it's just whatever. It's part of it's the most closest thing to the curator's vision. But this time I just decided not to. Honestly, part of it was just for ease of my brain, just so I wouldn't have to worry about that,
Yeah.
And just showcasing other people too.
Okay, so then you're from the Bay Area, right?
I am from the Bay Area.
Like what, inside the 7x7 or outside?
Inside. Well, not I mean, what is a 7x7?
The 7x7 grid that is like officially San Francisco, isn't that what it is?
Oh, well, okay. So no, but my mom was born there. So my mom was born in San Francisco when she, back in the 30s. And then I moved up there after college. I never lived there as a kid, but I lived south of there as a kid, like half hour south. And I mean, I freaking love San Francisco.
Did you go to the Art Institute? Where did you study?
I went to CCAC, Some people know that as CCA, but we still call it CCAC from the old days. But yeah, I went to California College of Arts and Crafts.
Oh, okay. They dropped the crafts
They did
to up their
to make them more like, I don't know what it was.
Fine art.
Yeah, it was during that phase when all the schools were like getting huge and like, massive and, whatever. That was I thought the charm of the school. But yeah, I went there and yeah, worked around there for a long time. And yeah, I mean, it's a great place. It's small after a while, unfortunately, I think. Like that's how I felt.
That's my impression.
Yeah.
Like I went and visited my sister there for a while, like just a while back when and it was crazy. She was like, first of all, she noticed that my sibling who lived there at the time, my sister, I have like things evolve in families. So my sister and I were there, and we were from out of town visiting my sibling, and they noticed that we were that like we were just not used to being around people in close proximity like that. And then the other thing is that they kept running into people that they knew. It was like high school.
Yeah, totally.
Which is insane, and it almost felt like like it felt small town in a big city. Like you might have to watch your step.
Well, yeah. I mean, I had a friend come visit one time too, and the exact same thing happened. Like we went outside, and I'm like, hey. But it's I mean, that didn't always happen, but sometimes it can. Depends on your neighborhood and depends on, what you're up to. Yeah. But yeah, it is wonderfully small and
wonderfully small. I mean, how you spun it back into positive.
I did, because I mean, I used to ride my bike across it, or I even walked one time home from the beach. That was crazy, but yeah, you can get around there without a car if you have to, and yeah. I mean, in LA in comparison is amazing because it's so big. I can't even understand it. Yeah. Like I've never been to this block before, where you are, and like I'm like, oh, this is beautiful, and it's huge. I'll never know it.
This is, I mean, I'm not gonna say the neighborhood, but it is one of the oldest neighborhoods in LA.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Yeah. But it's like, it's one of those places that's a little rundown, and they're probably like USC is nearby, and they're trying to flip it into their simulacra style of like everything. They're like already taking the park that's nearby, but yeah. So then, like, how long have you been in LA? The LA is pretty. It's great. It's huge, but I find that its size can make life a lot more exhausting than you think. You think that like New York is tiring, when you don't live there, but then you come out here, everybody's so chill, but at the same time, it's like it wears on you a little bit.
Your tires. The wear on your tires is like the wear on your soul. No, I agree. I mean, I've been out here 10 years, about 11, and my dad was actually born here, and my grandma was actually born in LA, like 1915 or something. So I always wanted to come here and live here. And my dad would always be like, well, LA, like, but I was always fascinated. And I would come visit my grandma, and yeah, I thought it was really exciting. And I have to say, my concept of what I thought LA was when I first moved here is totally different than what it is. Like, I thought I knew, and it's, yeah.
I mean, I used to live on the west side too, and I think that since I moved out here, like I like it out here, but at the same time, I can show you how thick like all of my gear gets with like this like it's like it's asphalt that's coming from the I-95. If you peek into into that room and you look at the fan, like
it's like, oh my god.
And I'm like, I'm breathing that.
Totally. We used to live, sorry.
No, you're good.
We used to live right on the top of the hill by Dodger Stadium. So basically the 110, the 101, like all these freeways like cross paths there. And similarly disgusting gunk on everything. But
so I think it also depends on where you live. I'm sure if you're like in Los Feliz, you're probably very feliz.
Yeah. Yeah, or one thing that's nice about the west side is the air. Like you get the fresh ocean air. So anyway.
What part of town are you guys in?
We live up in Tahunga.
Okay. That's not too bad.
I mean, there's actually this.
It's like the Florida of LA, right?
It is. I've never heard it called that, but you're so right. Like, that is a new way for me to describe it. Yeah, there's like.
I'm from Florida, so I know I can spot a Florida.
There's little Trump. When the whole Trump thing was going during the pandemic, like as that was starting to break away and we were coming back to real life, there would be Trump people out on the streets just like banging drums and like having a barbecue and like
they're having fun.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah, there was a lot of Trump activity up there. But yeah, we love it. I mean, we're kind of, I mean, there's tons of other people too, but not to.
I just meant more in the sense that it's like suburbs, like upon suburbs, but they're like nice and people care about their houses and.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's also kind of this weird no man's land because it is LA, considered LA City, but there's not a police station up there. So, you know, the mantra around there is like, gotta, you know, make sure you can protect yourself. Everyone's got to get a gun.
That's the Florida.
Yeah. And there's a lot of street racing, which is kind of funny because we don't live right on the main drag, but we can definitely hear when it's happening. And like, yeah, it's like it's a destination for some things.
Yeah.
Jay Leno actually goes up there all the time. It's a car place. It's like motorcycle car place.
Yeah. Now I know where to race my car.
Yeah, come on up.
My Prius.
Yeah, totally. Hey, they're every car's welcome. Like, but there are like some real serious dudes up there, and yeah. I mean, but there's also like bobcats and like mountain lions and coyotes, and you know, like that's the part that why we did it. And you know, Echo Park, the vibe of change when we left was just like, damn, like everything was just like you know, gentrifying like crazy. Yeah. So when we
was that before the whole,
that was like 8 years ago. I mean, it was probably already gentrified then, but
now they got cameras after the homeless encampment got disbanded.
Oh yeah,
it's full of cameras now. Someone told me. I don't know. I didn't actually read that.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But so yeah, we live in Tujunga and it's, you know, it's fun.
Any murders?
Wow. Let's see. I did mention that. Dang, what am I going to do now? It's going to be out. I love murder. No.
I was listening to last podcast before you got here.
I already listened to that one. Oh, wait.
Oh, no. I just go back and listen.
Oh, you do the old ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm really into psychology. I like the idea.
That doesn't have to be your topic. I was just segueing into topics.
It's fine. I like this topic.
Okay.
Because I was trying to think, like, why am I into, like, you know, my thesis, I'm like, what am I into? And I'm like, well, shoot, I'm a Gemini. Like, that was the best I could come up with. I'm like, I'm into everything, like this much. And, you know, I could probably talk for a minute.
Is that how Geminis are?
They like everything and they don't totally, you know, maybe they don't dig in enough or something. I don't know. That might not be true. But let's see. No murders up there. But it used to have a lot of, I mean, I'm sure there are, but there was a lot of meth and motorcycle gangs until maybe, I don't know, the 90s or 2000s. So there's a lot of, like the house we moved into has a ton of extra security on it. That's like really rudimentary. Like all the way the doors locked and all the like it just feels like they had to really make sure like cops aren't coming. So, but yeah, I mean, we like it up there, but yeah. And murder in general, I think, I like psychology. Like I like the idea of trying to understand people and, you know, God, I hope, knock on wood though, you know.
That's like, drywall.
Shit. Hopefully that's got enough wood. Like, but you know, like, yeah, I like the idea of trying to figure out people's psychology and why they do stuff. And yeah, no, but I think so one thing I will say about them, like my grandma that was born here, the reason she was born here was because her parents came in a covered wagon here.
Oh, wow.
So I think that mentality is all over my family. Like the people that left and went really far from where they were from to like nowhere, that fits into my family. So I kind of think
your grandparents or your great-grandparents?
My great-grandparents.
Okay,
so my great-grandparents came over in the wagon.
Okay.
And then my grandma was born here. And then my other grandparents.
I missed the great.
Oh, yeah,
and I was like trying to figure it out. Okay, go on. Sorry.
I'm really old. I'm like 200 years old. No,
no, they were like, there's like a time traveling grandmother.
Totally. Yeah, no, great grandmother. And then the other side of the family like came from Italy and came to California.
And which one was the murderer?
I think they all had someone in there that,
Yeah.
there's stories. I did actually, my great grandfather who lived here was a cop for a while.
Okay, so he probably murdered someone.
And he was also like a streetcar driver too. So it's like, I don't know. I think people were just whatever,
Streetcar driver. What's there were streetcars in LA?
Yeah, there were streetcars, especially. Yeah, there was actually, they had a really great transportation system before the automobile came and ruined it all.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's like weird stations and stuff that are all like closed down, and there's one in like Silver Lake that's like right off Sunset. That's like I don't know what it looks like inside, but it was like a station for trains and stuff. I think, but yeah.
But does the interest in psychology extend outside of murder?
Yeah.
Or is it a rationalization for your fascination in murder?
I think it does, but I also think yeah, I mean, but
it's fine either way. I'm not judging.
Well, let me think. I think it's a really, I mean, not to try to talk in like but I do think it's like a really interesting landscape, internal, just your emotions and all that stuff, and like people's brains and like feelings and all that. It's just really interesting. Like it's really potent to me of, I don't know. And I don't know where I fit into that, like why I'm so interested, but I do like, I don't know. It's just a weird space to put your head into.
Well, I mean, the way you describe it, it makes me think that like, that's pretty much everything that is in narrative forms anyway, right? Like the strong, like it's, when I was taught, it was the 80s. So they used to say man versus, instead of person.
Totally. People.
But it was person versus nature, person versus self, person versus machine, right? So, it's interesting. But then there's like how deep do you want to go? Because like some people want to watch something that's like a little bit more. Even I don't always want to delve into.
You don't want to know the worst people ever. What did the worst people ever do?
Oh yeah. But there is like a thing. I wonder what it is, and I think that like. So for you, it's not about like fear or like feeling protective, because I know that some people like are worried about that. I don't listen to like true crime and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get murdered.
You're like, I know how to lock my doors now and leave the TV on when I'm not here. Yeah, no, I feel like
well, I'm also at much lower risk.
I think part of it is the like, how could I know enough? How can I know more to not have it happen to me, for sure.
Okay.
But I also think that to the point, it can make people just hyper too. I mean, my husband would probably be like, Jesus Christ, like I'll like I lock the door all the time. Like I will go outside, come back in and lock the door, and my whole family's still outside. Okay. And then they'll come back in the house and they're like but I used to live by myself for a long time in a city, so it's like you just form these habits of like always locking your door and always doing it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like
does it ever get in the realm of you like telling him things that scare him?
No, because he doesn't get scared. He is the we're probably we don't want to go down this road too far, but we're probably the exact opposite. And I'm like the of the group, and so he's like the of the group. He doesn't, nothing really worries him, and nothing impacts his psychology too much.
So he's never like, why do you obsess over this?
No, he's more,
he knew what he was getting into.
I think so. I hope so. We've talked about it, but no, I think I think so. I mean, I think also like, when I was younger, I really liked horror movies, and I don't like them anymore as much because they gotten so crazy. But
so like more 70s era.
Yeah, like
slasher,
Dario Argento and all that. I mean, just
sexy
and great music and beautiful sets and just weird blood. Like I think like the color of the blood in those movies isn't even, it's like orange. It's like not real feeling. But I used to really love that. I kind of grew out of that, and then it turned into like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are into murder stuff, especially women.
Yeah.
And it is probably that whole like, how safe can I be? I've got to know it all. But yeah, I mean, geez, hopefully nothing happens to us now after we've been so blasé. No murders,
no.
please.
Well, no, I mean there is always that. Like, I mean, I've talked about it with someone on this show before about how it is kind of exploitative as a genre.
Yeah.
But there is some, I feel like, on a very basic level. I'm gonna say basic because based you can't say like you can't say base because people think you're saying based. On a very human primal level, there's a feeling that like there but for the grace of God go I.
Yeah.
It
Oof, I miss, glad that wasn't me.
but it gives you that like stomach churning thing of like almost of getting away. So I wonder if there's like endorphins that that come after that, that because I think your body does that if you're like, I'm not that I've run away from lions. But academically, I have maybe read a headline about something related eventually at some point, or maybe will eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like which is interesting because it is so visceral. That's why it's like the whole tabloid thing. I don't know if this is a myth that has been debunked, but I've always heard that it is. It started with like the British tabloid, which is like notorious, started with Jack the Ripper.
Oh yeah.
And that was like, I don't know if you've heard that too.
I haven't heard that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like the weird titillating kind of like, oh my God. But it,
Yeah.
And yeah, that totally makes sense. Especially too, just how small all that used to be. Like that paper was probably coming out like, and the guy's like right over here, like in his crumpet, and like he's gonna walk right by the yeah, it was very much more intimate, that London whole Jack the Ripper thing. But yeah, it's like there's and I've heard about some other stories, mostly like last podcast on the left, but like mostly some of those older murder stories that they cover. Yeah, how the press came into it and how the press, like the Bonnie and Clyde and all that stuff. It's like really interesting to see how the press kind of like was also obsessed and what made a good story, and then how that maybe affected what people actually end up doing, like to get notoriety and stuff. And
yeah, like TikTok.
Yeah. Jeez.
I mean, it is like she was definitely somebody that wanted to be. At least according to last podcast on the left, we're quoting the same sources, so we're very biased.
We know about stuff. We learn about it.
We listen to one show.
We know all about everything from this show.
Do you argue? I always like. For me, okay, I guess I will talk a little bit about.
Yeah, let's hear what you gotta say.
No, I mean, I think that I'm with you on like for me, it is just kind of how. Okay, like I don't know if I said this on the show before, but it's been so long that it's okay to bring back a classic. But like the idea of like that's inhuman. Like we have a way of compartmentalizing what's humanity, right? And I think that it really opens your perspective. And like I think that there's a thing about despair that I can handle about like having my experience of the human world being like not shut off from everything of it. And like, I mean, I obviously have like mental health issues.
I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm like all of my friends, we are all in the same boat, and that's maybe why we know each other. Like it's like
it's the art scene.
Yeah.
But I feel like like I've never had a problem with being morbid or morose or like thinking about death constantly, And then now that I'm medicated, I just feel like I've been through I've been through hell in that metaphorical way that like movies do, where the guy comes out and he has a 1,000-yard stare. I have the mental health 1,000-yard stare. So I'm like, yeah, no, tell me about all that fucked up shit.
Bring it on. I'm ready for it now. I can handle it. Yeah, it's well, it's weird to think about. Like, I mean, COVID totally at least made it okay for people to freak out and admit that life is crazy. Like, I feel like it allowed, I feel like it gave a lot of allowances to mental health, like it are good, like
and substance abuse. And,
well,
and then a lot of people unfortunately did not survive the intensity of like that, like self-reckoning that everybody had to do. You know?
Totally. It was, interesting to not have any.
See how I make it darker?
Yeah, it's okay. Hey, you have you looked at my paintings?
Yes,
my paintings are all about like I
love that I invited you to do this and that you're doing it.
It's fun. It's fun to hear yourself talk like this. No, but I mean, I find that I have a sunny disposition and I can't help it. It just is. It's always been. But the insides are, when I do make a painting or do something, I'm always a little like, oh, like, yeah, that's me. And I like it. And I love I like the uncomfortableness and the grossness and the, weirdness of looking at a gross, dirty pond, or I don't know, like things that they're not necessarily bad, but they're just kind of like not the ideal, not the beautiful. And also, I mean, God, not to be totally weird, but like I tripped out the other day of like how we're so good. Everyone's trying to help the animals and I'm a vegetarian but then like I'll step on a bunch of spiders and I mean, not on purpose. I try to save them, but I'll kill some ants and I got this fly and I smacked a mosquito and then if you think on like a micro level of like cleaning products, how much bacteria we're killing. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but like we're fucking destroying shit. Like we just can't see it. I'm not coming to
your house.
But like we're trying to keep it all right and ready, but like really we're we're killing other things like that we just can't see. And so, the notion of goodness and like, I mean, morality, granted, treating this people and animals and stuff is good, but we can only be so moral, we're destroying shit, and just us being here destroys shit.
I think that also comes with just being old too.
Yeah, totally.
not that we're old, but
we're not old.
But I'm just saying we're not young with the fervor of like fighting, of also just like misplaced like sex energy of just having your hormones.
We gotta go.
We gotta do everything. Anger.
Yeah. Look at me, I'm big. No, I agree. And I think too, I had this thought the other day, like, when you get, maybe if you've been around a while and you've sort of, it's not like everything and you haven't heard everything, but you kind of heard the types of things. Like you're kind of like, oh, this is this type. And maybe that's the problem with settling into your thoughts too much, or you're, getting stuck in your ways. But after a while you're like, oh, like you kind of start thinking about life in a different way, like a different kind of rotation of, I don't know, not to be all Zen, but like, what does it all fucking mean? Like we're just repeating. Anyway.
No, I'm definitely, I mean, to me, what you're talking about there has just manifested in the most cliched way, where now I want a sports car.
Yeah, totally. Gotta go fast.
I'm like, it's my biological clock ticking.
Totally. I mean, I think too, it's like, it's just so weird to, I mean, and think about like, there's like some lady who's like 117 I saw the other day, and I mean, she's alive and she's pretty much seen it all. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. Being consciousness is weird. Being alive is weird.
What are your thoughts on consciousness? Because that can get crazy, and especially it can be different when you ask different people.
Well, let my Gemini science hat on and tell you, like, I saw something on Instagram the other day where some guy was saying, like, basically there's like a front and a back to the universe and time, and we're in the middle, and just think about, like, I made this video like in June and you're watching it now and it's already completed, and that's what time is like. And I'm like, so there's no free will, basically. That was my take from that. And I'm like, oh, maybe there isn't. And then I don't know, like, I have no fucking clue. And I think that I don't believe in heaven anymore. I did really believe.
Up until when? How old were you when you got that jaded?
I mean,
when did the disillusion?
I was raised Catholic.
Oh, that's also why I feel the guilt.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I was raised Catholic, and you're totally taught all that in heaven, baby, and union, grandma, and I can feel grandma, and like I used to really believe all that, mostly for the people that died that you just sort of still wish were around. And then like my dad died, and I think I really, I believed in something. It's not like I don't believe it's like a total shut and boom. But people, how do you keep all the animals, all the people, and then who do you hang out with? Like, are you hanging out with somebody when you're like the 40-year-old you, or like the 2-year-old you? And like, where's grandma? Like, how do you? That sounds horrible. Like, how do you keep track of all the people and the places, and where do you live? Like, it just sounds bad. But then also, it's just incapable. People are just, it's incapable space-wise to have happen. But maybe there is. I don't know. Like, maybe that's the trick of the universe.
Are you saying that heaven, if it's true, it's too crowded and you wouldn't want to be there anyway?
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
But the universe is infinite.
Yeah, I know. But like, then how do you pick your people? Like, is it high school people? Is it like grandma? Like, it's sort of, I mean, maybe there's some kind of order to it. Like, well, they're the, soul friends or something.
It's just an opium den and everyone's happy.
Yeah, that might be good. I mean, that sounds nice. I mean, that does sound nice.
I'm sorry. I think we've tapped on something now.
A good old fashioned opium den.
Well, you know what? I'm just realizing I just watched From Hell, which is not that great of a movie, but it's about Jack the Ripper with Johnny Depp and and what's it called? Yeah, and he's like an opium addict in that. Although the comic was very different, but yeah. So it's funny. Like my world circles around a very specific, limited capacity of like I wonder what my life would look like if I just stopped listening to last podcast entirely, and then just like, oh my god, I'm so happy all the time.
Well, let me ask you this. Not that we need to go down this road too far, but what do you feel about their UFO stuff? Because I
like it.
I'm not into the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
Because
no one dies.
Yeah, but also like, well, no. More, I guess it makes me mad that I don't believe it. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that there's not UFOs.
But are you skipping those episodes or are you listening to them?
Well, sometimes I get desperate and I'm like, oh, this is a new one. I've never listened to it and I've got to get...
Well, I'm surprised based on what you said about consciousness and being curious about it, because I feel like the way that they present it, it's not nuts and bolts. It's like, I would say that Henry Zebrowski almost exclusively thinks that it's a psychic phenomenon. What do you think about cryptids? We don't have to spend on... I mean, if you're not into UFOs, we don't have to
Well, wait, what are cryptids again?
Bigfoot,
I know there's like
skinwalkers. Skinwalkers.
Are they skinwalkers?
Skinwalkers are their own thing. They're like their own legend.
Is that more Native American or...
Yeah, and I think that like... I guess big feet... I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, so if cryptids are like Loch Ness Monster and stuff like that... I mean, I totally believed in the Loch Ness Monster as a kid. And I still kind of believe that there could be like a giant thing in the loch. Like, why not? Like this giant serpent thing. Bigfoot, I do not believe in at all.
What about the platypus? Do you believe in the platypus?
Oh, I mean, I think platypuses in general.
But they used to be cryptids. Did you know?
Well, who said that?
No, like...
People used to not think they were real?
Yeah, no, like people thought when they brought a dead one, and people thought that it was like, because I mean, yeah, because back then it was like
they put a bill on a...
Yeah, what's his name? Did the mermaid?
Yeah.
What's that guy? Ringley Brothers and Barnum and Bailey.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy, like he stitched a monkey to a fish. Anyway.
Oh my god.
That face you made is why we watch this stuff. It's just like it gets you like.
I mean, but also
which is the same thing that horror does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that movie? Oh my god! They just released a new one. It's about the carnival, and there was an old one that was so good. God, I'm gonna hate myself for not remembering it, but it's kind of about sideshow people. The movie that they just re-released wasn't that good, but
I don't
anyway,
know.
but it did talk a lot about like people in the circus and people at the carnival that like are the sideshow people, and that whole freaks kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know, like just that reminds me of that, and just that whole idea of like, come here and come watch this.
Oh yeah, the
Like,
sideshow culture.
Yeah, just so weird to like, you know.
I guess kids do have it pretty good right now.
Yeah, like that was that. Like we're gonna watch the guy, the freak, like who, you know, like basic whatever. That's just anyway. I'm glad that's kind of gone out of whatever fashion, whatever you call it.
I mean, it's problematic on so many levels
horrible.
too, right? Like you're just like, oh my God, you're a freak.
Yeah, and geez, oh my goodness, yuck. Anyway, but back to the platypus. I didn't realize that was true about the platypus. But the Bigfoot, it's just, I feel like something would be found, like somehow poop or some hair or like some accident that happened. There'd be like some damage.
I like that you're taking the time to debunk.
But that's really what I thought. Well, because we all have that image in our head of like the turned body guy, and it's like, I mean, when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, but now I'm like, whoever did that, like. They got a good laugh at everybody.
But what you don't, so you don't subscribe to the notion that they are interdimensional beings.
No, and I feel like anything interdimensional is probably. I mean, that's another thing to think about. Like, why would it be like us? Like, why wouldn't it could be like this big, or it could even be like invisible that we have no idea.
I just love that you're only into cold hard murder.
There's no
Not
whimsy.
The possibilities
no whimsy.
Of UFOs.
No whimsy.
Extraterrestrial life.
No fantasy or whims.
Creatures from other dimensions.
Nope. No way.
Give me a body.
I want bodies, but I also like, I mean, how scary is space though? Like, you want to talk about scary shit? Yeah,
for sure.
Like
it's
that
terrifying.
whole idea of like being out there. There's like no freaking sound. There's like no, I mean, like.
I'm not even worried about being out there. What scares me is just the notion of how like empty everything, like all the shit is happening here and then everything else is empty.
Yeah, it's totally crazy.
That's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, like little, I had bad dreams about that. The concept of like being really, being really scrunchy, and then like things just being really wide open, and like space, and like those feelings used to freak me out. But yeah, like, I mean, I don't want to not, I have a daughter, and she totally, well, actually, she just asked me the other day, she goes, is Santa Claus real? And I go, she's 8. Do you really want me to answer this? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, no, I bring her this. She's like, do you bring the presents? I'm like, yes. She's like, I knew it. And I'm like, okay, fuck. Like, this is a moment where she, but she was, I mean, it didn't bum her out. She was ready for it. And I felt like, God, thank God I didn't lie. I'd be like, no, he's real.
Wait, you don't believe in Santa Claus?
I did have some moments in the 90s where I would be like, does that sit? Like, just like the weird things floating in the sky. Like, maybe he's real. But like, yeah, I mean, that stuff I feel bad. My daughter still believes in things, and she loves unicorns, and, she goes to a school where they're very much into fantasy and stuff. And so I never want to kill that for her. But yeah, me, myself, I don't know. I wish things were more magical. I mean, I do believe in like anthropomorphic, like I do believe, like I have had moments where I'm like, that's my brother. Like I have a brother who passed away, and a bird came and landed on my windowsill one time, and I'm like, dude, that's my brother. Like I totally believed it. So whatever that is, I believe in. Like
okay,
like
I mean, it's real to you, right? So it is your brother, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what. Yeah, it really.
No,
is.
it is.
Yeah, it's like you're right. It's like
you're making your own reality.
Magical thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, magical thinking is weird, and
it's inescapable though.
Yeah,
I figure you just use it to your benefit.
Yeah, why not? Exactly. Like just like religion.
Yeah.
I do think that I would never criticize people for being religious, in that like my mom's very religious, and I think she gets a lot out of it. And I think that you could feel really secure and calm with religion if that's your thing, because there's a thing taking care of us. But yeah, I'm not there anymore. But yeah, I don't know.
You're not there. Wait, did we get what age you stopped believing in heaven?
I don't know. Like 15.
Okay, I was like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, 2 hours on the way
I just
here.
had a crisis of faith.
But I mean, I think like, but believing all that is harmless in a way if it makes you happy. Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's like lights out, you know? Like,
It can. I feel like it's really hard to break out of dogmatic thinking, even if you're an atheist, or
Yeah.
you know, like
yeah, what are you?
I'm ambivalent. You know, I'm like when it's convenient, I'm like, oh hey, I'm really lonely. Let me reach out to you, and something's there every time I do.
Yeah.
But do I actually think that something's there, or am I like, you know, making myself feel better by like verbalizing something in a way that makes me feel less alone? You know.
But I think that's,
And it doesn't matter.
yeah. I mean, my mom.
It matters, I guess, when I like amass an army and I'm like, God made me feel better that one time I was really sad.
Yeah.
But sorry, you were gonna say something.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong in it. Like, there's something, you know, I would never say there's nothing, because my husband's an atheist. I do not agree with that. I think like, there's something, and I think and it might just be, it might be God. It might be, it might just be our inability to really understand our surroundings or something, you know, that we have to make it up. But there's something, you know, it's got to be something. Because I think, like, you know, the sense of our connection, I mean, I think we're different than animals this way, but like the love connection of why we reproduce, why we do all this stuff. That love is the thing that God would be, you know, or the other thing. And that's real felt feelings, you know? So I think that, yeah, it's maybe just how you decide to label it.
Yeah.
And however you want. I don't like it that people have it all figured out though for everybody. Like that makes me a little mad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on both sides. I think there is such a thing as toxic secular humanism, you know, and like that makes people furious when I say that. Like people get so mad, and that tells you what the problem is with that. Like, you know, but yeah, I mean, like, yeah, there's like historically things that as Americans we look at and we're like, oh, those governments were bad, like Russia and Germany and all of those things, and they're like entirely secular.
Yeah.
Totally. And you're like, I'm like, hello.
What are we? Who else is secular? Who else fits all these I'm not. And
that's not to say that like religion is like. But I'm just saying, like, religion is mostly neutered at this point in terms of, like, you know, like people that are still like, fight the Christian church. I'm like, okay, yeah, they're homophobic, but like, they're not like the centers of power.
Yeah,
you
totally.
know,
you can ignore them
entirely.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, granted, I don't know what's going on with like all the funding that Trump and all the weird Christian evangelical crap that happens in our country is a little bit like of a bummer, and maybe the whole anti-abortion thing is a little bit of a bummer, so maybe it does still have some power. But on a personal level, if you're not going to have any, you know, if you're not going to need an abortion, or if you're not, you know, I mean, there are some ways it does affect people like us still, but or the homophobia too, but at the same time, you can't ignore it. You can get food and do your things without, you know, back in the day, I'm sure you would be like hung up and killed.
But I would argue that that's not necessarily the church running those initiatives, right?
Yeah.
Like it's mostly like the church makes that belief system, right? And then people believe in it passionately. What I'm saying is like the power centers are like, if you'd say the Catholic Church tries to take on like Target. That's my point. I don't want to minimize. I just want to be clear. I don't want to minimize you know, the actual real consequences of people being religious. But I'm just saying, in terms of like where we are in history, the church is mostly not a center of power. It's a center of control and like, you know, and that, you know, that's one of the other things. It's like, first of all, I'm a victim of like propaganda too, right? So like I have a very Western American perspective and all of that. So like it's hard for me to not be like, say that people that are religious are not victims, right? Like, so yeah, it's still the church still victimizes people, and I acknowledge that. Like, it can work for some people, but there's other people that are very fire and brimstone, and it's super toxic too. I'm just saying that, like,
at least
those impulses don't necessarily have to do with be exclusively with religion. I think those are just human impulses.
Yeah, totally.
That happen in and outside of religion. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And at one point,
then you're getting canceled too. Cool.
No, I mean, well, I yay. Who knows? But I feel like, yeah. I mean, I think back in certain times it was, I mean, if we want to go back to pagan moments or wherever, like Native American or just like the ancient cultures, that kind of, I mean, some of that religion was kind of brutal and crazy, but also some of it was just like survival, like getting together and like, we got to get our crops and we're going to do this and we're going to, dance for this. And, all that stuff was kind of, I mean, it's sort of like the weirdly bare humanness, like
it's like fables for adults.
Yeah. And I think, that part's still important, at least, community getting together and helping, within our groups of folks or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. But overall, when it got weird and powerful and strange and corrupt and just gross.
Yeah.
Power is kind of problem.
Yeah. No,
money
general.
And power, problematic.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like people, it's the atheists that are like, every war is based on religion. I'm like, no, it's on resources.
Yeah.
It was just the two factioning religions wanted to have control of those resources. But anyway, I'm pretty much don't spend any time thinking about religion.
Me neither.
So we can change the subject.
We can stop. It's not...
I mean,
we've covered, I feel like we just took a class. This is our, we've done all our work.
Yeah. We did our Hail Marys.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Act of contrition.
Do you have guilt still? Yeah, you do, if you have to think about it.
Yeah. But it's so funny, where my guilt derives from now. Yeah, I think I was trained to have guilt, as a portion of my brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I at some point too, you're just like, God, I just got to take care of my shit. I'm sorry. You maybe today's culture, and especially maybe if you're really busy or you got a kid or, whatever, you're just like, yeah, these are things I have to do. Sorry if it doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
Mom. I'm just kidding. Mom, I love you. But no.
I know someone you're not going to be telling this show's up. This episode's
no, my
coming
mom
out.
would laugh. But yeah, no, I think, I mean, yeah, I had a little guilt, but thank God though, you can grow up and have your own thoughts and do your own things and get into your own stuff. And, and when things get bad, I do think people do pull towards whatever that thing is they need. I mean,
yeah,
for sure.
One of the things that was interesting is my dad passed recently, and when I was talking to my mom about it, I was just like, I'm having I want a sports car is where I'm at with it, right? But a cheap one, not nothing crazy. But yeah, I was like the person that taught me religion, and we were talking about it, and that wanted me to go to church and whatnot. And ultimately, she has no idea what happens. Like we were literally like, yeah, who the fuck knows?
Totally.
So she still believes in all of that, and she's still, I don't know when the last time she's gone to church, but in my adult life, she has found relief from going to church. But yeah, it's straight up like it was so crazy to think about that, and yeah, like. Who knows?
How long ago did your dad die? I'm just curious.
In May, late May 27th. So it's pretty recent.
Yeah,
still.
I'm sorry. It's I mean, rest in peace.
Yeah,
sorry about it.
I didn't want to say it, but he's right here.
Oh, is
parts
he?
of him, yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's great.
I didn't want to bring him out when we were talking about murder, but it was in the I actually stopped listening for a second there, and
there are bones in here.
I'm like, there's ashes. I got my dad's ashes in the house.
No, it's very cool. I mean, that's interesting though. Bodies. And
yeah. Well, that's a very Catholic relic You know, like I did when it came down to it, I was like, yeah, I guess I'll take him, you know?
Yeah, I think it's really, we held, I remember when my dad died, we kept his whole thing, we kept it all in one place, but we didn't do anything with it for like 5 or 6 years. And then finally we spread it somewhere, but it was kind of comforting to look over and know that that was him, like in a weird way, you know? Like it's, cause it is a body, you know?
Yeah. And then like, you know, he can't judge me anymore, but he has to just tolerate. He has to just tolerate everything that I do in this room.
I love these over there with all the music equipment.
Yeah, all the things that he didn't want me to buy.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah, in my little shrine of wasted money.
No, it's not wasted money.
No, I'm kidding. It's just not professionally advancing, other than like sitting as my background on my podcast.
It's actually that's an investment over there. Like it's beyond. It goes beyond like, but there also. I mean, there's a lot of things I'd have to say that are positive, pro, all that stuff.
Pro gear.
Pro gear.
Well, you're a synth nerd, right?
Sort of. I kind of inherited that from my husband was like in a lot of bands and played analog, like the old analog-y, as old as you could get synths.
Are you entirely DAW-less?
Am I what? Oh.
For people that don't know, that's digital. Digital work area. No, DAW, right?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, yes, I am.
Now I can't Google it because my phone's there.
No, but I know what you mean. I guess I am. But I do try to stay analog. Yeah. And so I have what I play now. I play a reissued ARP Odyssey, which I think either Korg or Moog reissued. I think it was Korg reissued this like really beautiful, simple ass 70s amp, and I'm still learning how to play it. Like that's how it's great. Like it makes you feel like electricity is really cool. Like I get some sounds on it where I'm like
is it FM or what's the other one? Frequency modulation synthesis, and the other one is the one that you stack.
This might be over my head.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Well, no, it's analog. I don't know. It's got like 2 different oscillators. It's
doesn't matter.
I mean, it's magic though. It like if you can hook it up to like a space echo or hook it up to some kind of echo, and literally you could freaking play it all day. Like nice. It sounds like you are out in space. Like I mean, like that's
Is that the objective?
Sometimes
to just feel like you might lose oxygen.
Or just like get in the star, what do they call it? The star lock, or like we got to get in the whatever
airlock.
Yeah. Sometimes when we have a band called Weird Symbol, but sometimes during practice it's like we're in the airlock because the sound is just like. But yeah, I love it, and and then I don't know, I don't have anything that special, but I kind of inherited some of that from him, like Eric, because he has a bunch of old ones, and just to even.
Wait, are you guys? Is he your father?
No,
inheriting.
Is
there a genetic? By the way, at like minute.
I'm married to my father. I don't know if we covered that in the beginning.
True crime.
It is. It's what's wrong with that? I don't understand. You guys are so judgmental. No,
Mackenzie Phillips.
Oh yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Oh my
man, I like that. I can just bum you out and then we still plow through.
That's some sad times there.
Yeah, that was pretty
good luck
rough.
to everyone involved in that.
Yeah.
But let's see what I'm gonna say. Yeah. So I like synths. And I like sounds. Like I think when I was a kid, I used to have a tape recorder and would just make up sound effects and stuff. And I think I wish I had been like a Foley artist, like a proper Foley artist. I think I could have been a great career for me. I didn't even know that existed until I moved to LA, really. I'm like, oh, Foley art, clump, clump, clump. Like, but yeah, I mean, I love sounds. I collect a lot of sounds and have a sampler and play, there's some good.
Do you have like, what's it called? Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, I have some of that. I mean, some of the ish like that. But like I love. Here's a Gemini music person, just a bit. I just know a little bit. Printers. So you can record all kinds of different printers, or people have recorded them and they put them up online, and then you can sample them, and they're freaking beautiful. Like, and then like you get a good loop going, and like suddenly you've got a whole. rhythm.
Oh
And
my
it's like an
God.
Epson 743X. It's like
I
very
need
cool.
to come out to Tahunga and
Please.
bring this bad boy over.
We would love to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like really. But yeah.
This is
Eddie
like,
Van Halen. I
it
used to have a
goes-
huge crush on Eddie Van Halen growing
Oh
up.
really?
Like,
I never
massive.
saw him as a sex symbol,
Oh
but
my God. I was like everyone in school knew, like I went to see Van Halen in concert. I was like in 7th grade, and yeah, I was very into him.
was that like, were you the only one, or did it stand out? Or
I was the only, I don't know how it happened, but I didn't have other friends I had other guy friends that liked Eddie Van Halen, but I was very deeply attracted to him. Sorry.
no, that's interesting.
But
Because that's the era of like when people where Hollywood thought that Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger were sex symbols, and like Jean-Claude Van Damme's buns. But it's it's so
Damme's buns.
it's so.
Have you ever seen that video of him dancing?
I've seen everything.
So yucca.
I was a fan of his when I was a kid.
Oh, you were? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. No problem.
No. It's the male gaze, like
Yeah.
version of what a man is supposed to look
Yeah,
like,
I
right?
know.
So, but it's just interesting. But because I'm sure that he was popular with the ladies, right? Like there's like a lot of pictures of him young with like his shirt off. I just he kind of registered for me, like once he was like older, like once David Lee Roth was in bad shape and he didn't look that great, and I was like, oh, these guys are like old. Like
that kind of dominates.
Yeah.
I think I caught him right at the right time, and I think but you know what I think is like truly, it's probably scientific in a weird way, hairless, like almost feminine, like there was nothing kind of, it's like that whole sex symbol thing for like teenagers, how they have that look to them.
He did kind of he wasn't androgynous, but he leaned into more effeminate, like hair metal kind of like looks early on.
Totally.
Yeah, I knew.
Whereas the guys you're talking about were much more like men, like they were actually
much
men.
Hotter.
Yeah, well, no,
no, I'm kidding.
I'm trying to think of like, I met Arnold Schwarzenegger once.
Did he grope you?
No.
Okay.
But he did say
allegedly is what
allegedly.
He does.
He said hello to my dog.
Oh, okay. Hello, little dog.
He said hello, Woody. My dogs. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, I think there's like a weird thing, like I would never have known
what other sex symbols.
Sex. He basically dominated for a long time.
Really?
Yeah. I'm embarrassed.
You never got into the Tiger Beat or that's the.
I used to like the lead singer of Thompson Twins. I liked Howard Jones. I don't know if anyone knows who that is. Like all of them were not masculine looking people. Like they were all very like safe for like. Ooh, like I don't know what. We'll go get ice cream, but like
that's not safe at all.
Ice cream, but like I think that was it. But I was there. That ended. But yeah, I think it's interesting what you are attracted to when you're younger, and then what you end up being attracted to when you're older, and it's kind of interesting.
It's also interesting how much like standards have changed. I'm more interested in like in that discrepancy between what an attractive man is now and like and then Don Johnson.
Oh, you did?
No, I'm not like, I'm just saying like what for me the guy,
the tropes.
For me the guy that like made me know that it was going to be okay was Jean-Luc Picard. I was like, okay, women love that dude.
Yeah.
And as I was losing my hair, I was like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. No, it's but also, oh my God. Well, yeah, there's all types of attractiveness, and then there's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm always surprised at my attractives. And I used to have a friend, and an old friend would be like, "Oh, it totally fits your style," and I'm like, "What?" Like, okay, I guess I figured out I shouldn't talk about this. It'll get me in trouble. Anyway, but
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just like thinking down the road. I'm like, I don't want to. But I'm getting beeped. But yeah. I mean, I think.
It's almost like his ears were burning.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, let me think who this is. I bet it's my mom. Seriously. Oh, it's my mom, but I won't get it.
Yeah, okay.
My mom's very mom. Yeah. So wait, Well, tell me, how long have you lived in LA? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well,
You said 7 years? No.
No, 2008.
Oh,
So
2008.
it's like more than I can count at this point.
Yeah, it's like almost 20 years in a way. Close.
Yeah. It's getting there.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Came from Florida?
Yeah, from Florida. I grew up in Italy and in Costa Rica.
That's right.
before.
You were talking with
Oh,
Fra.
Francesca,
That was
yeah.
so
I invited her
exciting.
on the show. I think we'll see, but she's busy until like November, so
Oh,
maybe I
she's
can
awesome.
squeeze her in to the show between that and because I'm going to Basel.
Oh, cool.
Because it's Miami. I get to go see my mom, see my old friends.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also lived in Miami.
That's great.
Oh, well, that's Florida.
Yeah. I bet being in Italy was pretty cool. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's when I got into art, and like she was talking about being from. She made me connect to memory because I know that I've been to Greek ruins, and she's from Pestum, and I was like, oh, like that's probably where I went.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
I mean, they're
cool.
probably all over the place, but the way she described them, I was like, listening. It's so nice to hear too. You know.
Oh, yeah. It was so
like,
fun to see you guys talk.
Well, and just like she was like at one point, she was like, "Am I talking too fast?" I was like, "No, I'm in like heaven." I'm like, "Oh, the rhythm."
Yeah.
Yeah, because she doesn't have like she has an accent that's similar to like I don't know if Pestum is in Lazio, but she's south, but I don't know how far south. She said so like from more central, but like the dialect wasn't so far out because like if you go to Florence, they'll speak with like without C's.
Oh.
Tuscany, they'll be like hola hola, and I would not enjoy that when I was like younger. I guess now I respect it culturally, but I was just like, oh, that sounds weird. And like all of my friends that were in the program that I was in were adopting that, and I was like, oh. But and then in like Milano, like up in the Lombard plain, they speak a little bit different. It has a different rhythm. So I think she's like from somewhere close, but
Yeah, that's great.
yeah. Well, cool. Is there anything that we haven't covered yet that you might want to
No.
that I anything
this
about
was good.
murder?
Murder. No, I feel like this was great, and I love coming over, and I like seeing your paintings, Javier.
Thank
They're
you.
very colorful and interesting, contrasty kind of sort of things happening. My favorite's the orangey.
The one with the
The yellow orange. I love it. And I also like the one on the far left.
yeah.
Just
Thanks.
they've got some weird things happening.
Thank you.
Yeah, and yeah.
I'm switching to like a different format. I'll show you.
Okay.
Well, cool. And then if you have anything to comment, please go ahead and do so. And we'll be back next week with another guest and another artist that may or may not be. We'll be back next week with another artist with another topic that may or may not be art related.
Well, thanks, Javier.
Thanks.